Hello, my name is Pumlani Majosi, a policy fellow at the Institute of Race Relations. Today we have a very special person, Olumayowa Okediran. He is the head of African Students for Liberty, currently based in Nigeria. Olumayowa, welcome. Tell me, what is African Students for Liberty? What are you trying to achieve? What is its mission?
The African Students for Liberty is an organization that exists to identify, train, and empower the next generation of liberal leaders across the continent of Africa. We do this by, identifying students on different campuses, training them, and giving them the resources that they need to advance their ideas of liberty on their campuses.
Now tell me, how is the advancement of liberty and economic freedom in Nigeria?
Over the last 16 years, thereabout, there has been an increase in economic freedom, generally in Nigeria, and this is due to the fact that we moved away from a military regime in 1999 and moved into a democracy. We had the first transition of a democratic government to another democratic government recently. Unfortunately, there's been a decline in economic freedom, in freedom generally in Nigeria lately, mostly due to the fact that there's an insurgency, the Boko Haram insurgency in the northeastern part of the country, and there's a lot of violence in the Niger Delta as well, mostly due to militants who are blowing up pipelines and the sort. So generally speaking, if you look at the last 16 years thereabout, we've transitioned into a better, freer society.
Do you think there are any areas that South Africa and Nigeria could work on?
First, I'll say that if Nigeria and South Africa can improve trade relations between the country, South Africa is the largest consumer of Nigerian oil on the continent of Africa. Unfortunately, Nigeria doesn't feature on the first 20 on South Africa's export list. So, Nigeria and South Africa can improve trade relations in that respect. South Africa can learn from the youth in Nigeria, in the sense that the youth in South Africa seem to, be swinging towards the left. There's been a lot of violent rhetoric, by youth, young people, political parties led by young people. Recently, there was some young people on campuses burnt libraries. It seems as if the culture of violence amongst the young people seems to be rising drastically. Nigeria is doing better in that regard, and I think that South African youth can learn from Nigerians in that aspect.
What is the difference that you see between the two countries?
One major difference between South Africa and Nigeria is the fact that South Africa is a freer society. Nigeria is mostly unfree. The Economic Freedom of the World Index lists Nigeria as about 113 or thereabout, and South Africa ranks about 80 on that index. That shows that South Africa has endorses economic freedom more than Nigeria. But both countries share a problem, and that's the absence of the rule of law. Nigeria seems to be doing worse on that front, and that can be an explanation for why the country is not as free as South Africa.